Who says crossovers have to be boring? Not Hyundai's N division, that's for sure. Jared here with CarBuzz.com, and no, your eyes are not deceiving you. Hyundai has built a truly hot crossover. This is the 2022 Hyundai Kona N, and no, this is not just a body kit, this is not just a styling exercise, this thing has some serious performance in mind. Let's check it out. As we get the Kona N out on the road, now is a great time to remind everybody to smash that like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. And if you want to read more about the 2022 Hyundai Kona N, be sure to check out CarBuzz.com. Now back to the video. So if you're watching this video and you already drive a Kona, you might be wondering what that letter N at the end of this car's name means. Well, N is Hyundai's performance division. It stands for the Nürburgring in Germany, one of the most famous racetracks anywhere in the world. It's where Hyundai does all of its performance development. Now, just like BMW's M division, the N cars are the most hardcore and extreme available in the lineup. You have the N line models, which have a little bit more performance, but the N models are where we really start to see some track-focused vehicles. Now, it might sound a little bit silly to mention the word track in a crossover video, but trust me, this Kona N is really lively. It's the third N vehicle that we've gotten here in the United States. It started with the Veloster N. We didn't get some of the other N models that are sold in Europe, like the i20 and i30, and now the Kona N joins the lineup for the 2022 model year, along with the Elantra N, which is a sedan that I cover in another video. Now, both the Kona N and the Elantra N, and in fact the Veloster N, all use the same engine. It's a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder producing 276 horsepower. That already makes the Kona N the most powerful thing in its segment in the subcompact crossover market, and it really isn't even close. Options like the Mazda CX-30 and the Ford Bronco Sport have about 250 horsepower, but they aren't even close to as sporty as the Kona N. For example, we have this button called NGS. You might be wondering what that means. It stands for N Grin Shift. This shows that the Kona N was really developed by enthusiasts. When you push it, it's going to go into a sort of overboost function and give you 286 horsepower for up to 20 seconds. Let's see what that works like. Push it. Oh! Wow! Oh, it gets a lot quicker when you push NGS. It is really fun when you hit that big red button. Now, all of that power goes out through a really quick shifting 8-speed dual clutch transmission. This transmission is absolutely awesome. Fires off shifts, works really well as an automatic when you're just driving around normally, and all of that power is only going out through the front wheels. You can't get all-wheel drive on the Kona N. I think that was really a cost-cutting measure. Would have been too expensive to make this car all-wheel drive, and it would have made it substantially heavier as well. But even with only front-wheel drive, the Kona N is one of the quickest crossovers around. It'll hit 60 miles an hour in just 5.2 seconds. Now, Hyundai didn't just upgrade the engine and call it a day. We've got an N corner carving differential up front. That's what Hyundai calls its electronic LSD, helping us get the Kona N around corners. We've got stickier tires, we've got bigger brakes, all in the name of track performance. And among all of those performance upgrades, we've got a lower suspension that basically makes the Kona N feel like a hot hatch. And would you listen to that variable exhaust? It doesn't just sound like a hot hatch, it sounds like a rally car. Now, when you do push that N Grin Shift button and you get those rapidly quick gear shifts, Hyundai actually had to make a decision. They love when the exhaust crackles and pops, but if you want the quickest shifts, it's not really going to crackle as much. So the engineers actually had to have a meeting to decide whether or not they wanted the quickest shifts or they wanted more exhaust crackles and pops, and they kind of had to come to a compromise between the two. You can definitely tell that this car was developed by enthusiasts for enthusiasts. In fact, the guy that currently runs the Hyundai N division is none other than Dr. Albert Biermann. That name might sound familiar to you because he's the guy who built some of BMW's greatest M models of all time. I wonder if that's why BMW's latest M cars are no fun and Hyundai is cranking out amazing cars like this. Must be a coincidence. Dr. Bierman has created an amazing car. This is the funnest crossover I've ever been in. Do I have any criticisms of it? I guess the interior isn't really that special, but again, this is a pretty affordable car. We've been driving in N mode and it is extremely stiff. If I go ahead and crank the drive mode selector into its normal mode, the car quiets up and gets a little bit more comfortable, but I gotta say the N suspension is really firm. So if you want a crossover that you're just going to drive every day, go to the stores with, and you don't really like the back braking suspension, the Kona N might not be the car for you. You might be better off with something like the Kona N line, which has a lot of the styling that we'll see here on the Kona N, but not as much of the performance. And now that we've driven the Kona N, let's go ahead and pull over so that we can check out this car's interior. Now that we've pulled over, let's check out the interior of the Kona N real briefly, because it doesn't differ too much from a familiar Kona, but there are some really cool N touches in here. Let's start with the most interesting detail, which is going to be this N steering wheel. It is really great. It falls perfectly to hand. I love this powder blue stitching here and the paddle shifters for our 8-speed dual clutch transmission. Now this car is really customizable. You've got your drive mode switch here. You can toggle between normal, sport, eco, and snow, but if you want to go a step further, you can really customize the driving experience here using these N buttons. You can see that our digital display will change when you go ahead and do that to become more track focused. You can actually tune these N buttons, this one and this one, to whatever you want. There's a lot of different settings here. You can adjust the engine, steering, suspension, transmission, ELSD, traction control, and the exhaust sound. Save it to one of these buttons and have quick access. Of course, we already talked about the N grin shift on this cool red button. That is one of my favorite features. And you probably noticed here on the infotainment system, it looks like a normal Hyundai infotainment system, except for this button right here that says N mode. Here we have our tachometer, our throttle position, oil temperature, a lap timer. That's really cool. You can set it to your favorite circuit here, and over here we have a G meter. We have our launch control function and other performance options like a shift light and our adjustable sounds. Just a lot of really cool performance features here on the Kona N. In terms of the seats, we have these nicely bolstered seats here with a really cool suede material on them. We have N printed on the back. They hold you in quite well, but not quite as aggressively as the Elantra N seats. Those are a lot more sport bucket oriented, better for a racetrack, not as comfortable to drive every day. So you can really see that the Kona N was developed for the street with a little bit of sportiness in mind, whereas the Kona N was a little bit more hardcore and less focused on comfort. Since the Kona N is only a subcompact crossover, it's not huge back here. My legroom is not great, but the headroom is decent. I do have one USB port back here for charging, but no air vents. And though the back seat isn't massive, the Kona N does have one huge advantage in Hyundai's lineup. This is the most spacious N model we've seen in terms of cargo capacity. When you fold the seats down, you do have plenty of room. Let's wrap up this video by talking about the styling, where just like the regular Kona, I think people are either gonna love or hate this design. The Kona has a very interesting split headlight design. We actually have our turn signals up here. The main headlights are down here. I know a lot of people aren't a huge fan of this look, but I think it all comes together quite well here on the Kona N. We can also see some really sporty touches here up front. We've got these faux vents here on the hood. That gives it a very sporty, aggressive look. And you will see this red accent that goes around the entire length of the car. A little bit tougher to see because you might be distracted by the red paint color. Here on the side, I'm liking these 19-inch wheels with the red brake calipers behind them. We've got 235 section tires that are Pirellis here on the Kona N. We don't get the sticky Michelins that you get on the Elantra N. That vehicle is just a little bit sportier than this one. Here at the back, the Kona N is a little less boy racerish than cars like the Civic Type R or even the Veloster N, but we still have a spoiler here that looks very aggressive. Just like the front, we have a split taillight design with a taillight here and another one down here. And then here at the bottom, we've got this aggressive diffuser here, again, with huge exhausts that sound absolutely fantastic, just like all N models should. Just have a listen. was the 2022 Hyundai Kona N. Unfortunately, pricing is not available yet, but what I can tell you is that the Kona N truly is in a class of its own. The Mazda CX-30 Turbo produces similar power and is a little bit more premium, but with nowhere near as much performance credentials. If you've been looking for a crossover that could take the place of your hot hatch as a more usable family vehicle, the Kona N is perfect for that job. I can't believe it has taken an automaker this long to craft a crossover that is this fun to drive, but the Kona N was worth the wait. I really hope you've enjoyed this review of the 2022 Hyundai Kona N. For more videos like it, be sure to check out our channel, subscribe, and ring that notification bell to be alerted of our latest videos. And if you want to read more about the 2022 Hyundai Kona N, be sure to check out carbuzz.com. I'll see you next time.